Welcome to our worship this morning. Well, this week has been one of the most affirming weeks in my ministries. In my ministry, um, I will start off by saying that it began from Monday, Tuesday. I had some deliveries to make, and unlike most of my deliveries, this particular delivery was for another minister, a reverend. I didn't know him, so I was quite looking forward to finding out where he trained and how he trained and when did he train. And I got to the address somewhere in the southeast of England and knocked on the door. And it took a while. Then a lady came to the door and I mentioned the reverend's name and she said, "Yeah, you're in the right place." She said, "But he died 2 days ago." I was holding this parcel in my hand and I was brimming with joy, thinking, I'm bringing good news. I'm bringing joy to a fellow reverend, or somebody who is a reverend. And then I reached the door, and the wife opens the door and says, "You're too late. He died 2 days ago." I didn't know what to do. All I could say was, "I'm sorry." And she smiled. She said, I don't know what to say," she said, but in a way, I'm glad he didn't suffer. And then she said, "We've been married for 64 years," she said. And she said, "But in the last couple of years, um, his health has been deteriorating." And she said, and to the point where he doesn't speak anymore. He just sits there. And she tries to get him to speak, and he wouldn't speak at all. And so she said, "I've been thinking, what am I going to do? Should I take him to a nursing home? Should I?" She said, "I'm not health-wise. I'm not in a position where I could care for another person." So she says, "But as his health deteriorated, I kept praying, God, I don't know what to do." And then she said, "But just this morning," she said, "we had breakfast together." And then she said, for the first time in a long while, he spoke. And he said, "Write this poem down." And she showed me the poem and he said, "I will hold your hand. I will walk with you. Remember, I'm always with you through the waters and through the fire, through the thick and through the thin." And she said, I wrote that and I read it back to him. And he nodded. And then she said, in the afternoon, he had a heart attack. She was upstairs. By the time she came down, she had him. And then by the time she got there, he was dead. He was gone. And she said, "I'm left with this paper." And I said to her, that was his way of reminding you First of all, the commitment of God for the long run, that God was in this for the long run. God is not just in this for today or tomorrow, but for the long run. And we prayed, and I must have spent over 20 minutes, 30 minutes just at the doorstep because I didn't go in. And she wanted me to come in, and I said, it's okay, let's be here. We stood there and prayed, and it's amazing, isn't it? The ministry that we have been given. And that was only the first part of my week. And this morning we went on evangelism. And as we went, we normally gather to pray. And as we were praying, sometime between the prayer, I nearly fell asleep. And then I asked for a pen and I wrote these three things down. One was a woman suffering. Two was a woman worried about her children. Three was another woman who had 3 children who thought her husband was a devil. And she was worried that her husband was having an influence over the children. So I shared this as we got ready to evangelize, and I said I needed to share this so that people know when people are asking for prayer, people can identify and say, oh, you were the one who God told us about. And so we went out on the street and we were just there. Now within a few minutes, a lady came. I went to one of the ladies and they were talking, and then I saw the lady pull up a chair, and then she waved to us and she said, she was pointing at the woman and said, and so one of the ladies went nearer, and it turned out this was the first case, the woman with who had been suffering for 13 years with insomnia, and they had given her medication, but the medication wasn't working, but now was having even a side effect to the point where she's reached what they call the shaking stage. And so her whole body has been affected by this sleeplessness. And so, as you can imagine, when the lady was told that before we came out, God had mentioned specifically about her condition, you can imagine she was just so amazed. But I shared to the group at the end and said, for us, it's just a mundane routine of waking up and going on the street. But for heaven, it's not just a mundane routine. It is an appointment. And heaven has got an agenda. And I said to them, if we hadn't turned up here today, who would have been most disappointed? God. Because there is somebody who is suffering, for whom heaven has an agenda to intervene and intercede in their life. And all it is asking us is just to turn up as children of God in the street. That's all heaven is asking from you, from me, from any one of us, just to turn up so that God can be God. God can use that. God can speak through us. Most of his children are walking around. We want to go on a picnic. We want to go to the beach. We want to go where the body and the flesh calls. Meanwhile, people are suffering and dying. Then came the second woman And this lady, as soon as she came, I knew. And I winked at the lady to whom she was speaking. And the lady held her by the hand, and they walked up the stairs together. And they went to get coffee and some donuts. And then I smiled at her and I said, God has been speaking to us about you. And she looked at me this way and I said, are you the one who think you're married to the devil? And then she looked at me and she said, only God knows. That was her response. She said, only God knows. She said, I was going to the spiritualist church behind your church. Behind our church is a spiritualist church. She said, I don't know why I came here. So here was a woman who was in such a quandary that she thought the only people who can tell me something about this man that I'm married to is the spiritualist church. Another one for whom heaven intervened and just broke through and moved this woman away from the path of the spiritualists. God wanted to show this woman that there are Christians who have not bowed their knee to the devil for information. And all God was asking us, you and I, again, is just to turn out. The woman broke that she'll be in church tomorrow. She said, I did not know that there are people who are calling on God and who are truly hearing from God. I thought it was only the spiritualists that I could go to. That's why I said, today was an awesome affirmation for me as somebody who has this mandate and claim that God has got his hand on my life. As somebody who has this mandate to speak on the behalf of heaven. We all have that mandate. Jesus said, go ye into the world. But we cannot go just sleeping and waking up and just go. Each time before I step out, I say to God, like Moses, how can these people believe me? These are unbelievers. Give me something. I need something for them to know that this man has been before God. This man has a knowledge that he cannot ordinarily know, except he has been in the presence of the all-knowing God. That's all I do. I have nothing of myself to give, but I know he who has all the information about everybody. When you come to people that way, there is no argument, there is no intellectual, educational, whatever argument against it. And the Apostle Paul calls that this in high places. Arguments in high places. Amen. And so I just want to encourage you and to answer your calling. Fulfill the mandate on your life. Heaven has an expectation each morning, each day. If we had not gone out today, at least 2 lives would have been unaffected, unimpacted by the gospel. One would have surely have been lost to the spiritualists. May God bless you. And then finally, I just want to share briefly that the report I got about 600 people over the last 28 days. This message reaching 5 provinces in India. And the breakdown is outstanding in terms of age bracket and regions where it's reaching. And so, to all of you, I just want to say, God bless you. Amen.